All right, just going to kick things off here. Again, thank you everybody so much for joining us here today for our webinar series with our partner Broadridge's wealth aggregation platform. Super excited to be covering some great technology here through our two integration systems. So today we're going to be going over a little bit of a demonstration between YCharts as well as Broadridge and how we can actually sync the two up to really further strengthen our investment research and portfolio analysis workflow. So thanks again for joining. My name is Christian Hushin. I am a customer success manager here at YCharts. Few quick housekeeping items for you today is that everybody will be able to submit questions throughout this webinar using the Q&A functionality within Zoom. So please don't hesitate to utilize that. Paul and myself will get to as many of those as we can. And we also have a Q&A session at the end to keep in mind there. So we'll save a few minutes, 5 to 10 minutes at the end for any specific questions. Here's some more information on reaching out to us after this. Some great news is that Broadridge users now get 20% off on their YChart subscription. So after this, if you'd be looking to learn a little bit more about YCharts, get some demonstration, get a trial account, please reach out to us at hello@YCharts to get your free trial started. Again, currently do have 20% off for new YCharts subscribers that do utilize Broadridge. So with that, I now want to introduce our friend Paul here. Paul's the VP of Wealth Aggregation and Insights at Broadridge. Paul, how are you today?
Doing great. Thanks, Christian. Appreciate you having me on the call today. Nice to meet everyone. Paul Commuto here. Been within the wealth fintech space for about 20 plus years. I run the wealth aggregation business unit within Broadridge and been here since about 2022. There's been a laser focused investment on innovation and insights, and we're spearheading a lot of new initiatives. The integration with YCharts is one of them, and really excited here to talk about where we're headed, what we're doing, and everything new that's on the horizon. So really appreciate the time, and thank you to Christian and the YCharts team.
Great. Thanks, Paul. Moving forward here a little bit, here's our agenda today. Going to spend some time learning a little bit more about YCharts and what charts is and does. I'm going to be doing some demonstrations on YCharts and the integration of Broadridge. We're also going to spend a little bit more time learning about Broadridge with Paul, and also really kind of focusing in how our two systems sync up, again, to kind of enhance our portfolio analysis and research processes through the two systems. So a little bit about YCharts for those of you who may not know or are looking to utilize more. Here's a nice image, really kind of illustrating exactly all the different things that we do, kind of broad picture, and how they all work in conjunction with each other. I'll start over here on the left with the dashboard and alerts. Of course, really at the forefront, what YCharts does is we aggregate tons and tons of financial and economic data into one system for you to utilize for research and analysis. So first thing there is really just monitoring and watching markets, getting access to our thousands of economic data there so that you can monitor things, see where they're at, do some storytelling, also being alerted on things that are particular to you and your business, and how we can leverage that in our daily workflows. Moving forward there a little bit, as you can see up here on the top left is some research and analysis, specifically our screeners and comp tables tools. For those who aren't aware, our screeners are really going to be really great idea generation tools, starting from a really large universe of securities, adding in the criteria that is specific to you and your business to find new investment ideas, securities that fit our process and our research. With that, comp tables tool is really kind of a data tables tool, so a little bit more on the due diligence side of things. If you're looking to get a lot of really good data for your funds you're invested in, your model portfolios, client portfolios, the comp table is going to be a really great place to aggregate all that in one spot. So while we're able to monitor markets and economic information, we can really get custom and specific with our proprietary data, so that we can get full-fledged investment research and analysis on that. Moving along over to portfolio construction, one of the strongest tools at YCharts is going to be our portfolios tool, where we can manage, track, analyze, doing reporting on portfolios. So whether that's a basket of model portfolios that you and your firm manage, client-specific portfolios that we'll kind of touch in on today, prospect clients, all that's going to live within our portfolios tool on YCharts. A few things that we can do here are enhance our models to better fit what we're looking for, higher returns, lower risk, all of that good stuff. And also being able to, spot out maybe areas that we're lacking, whether they're within our models, client portfolios, as well as prospects. So all that's going to be done within our portfolios tool. And with that portfolios tool, all the data from our portfolios tool is going to be able to be generated and printed out to a really nice looking PDF for client meetings, using these as deliverables for proposals, check-in meetings, talking clients through where they're currently at in terms of things like allocation, performance, risk, amongst many other items there. So being able to push all this data into a nice clean looking report for our clients to talk through during these meetings that are so important. And that also ties into our last thing here is going to be advisor client alignment. Again, using a lot of our reports and analysis to do our storytelling, telling clients where they're currently at, what we see going on in the market lately, kind of painting a picture for our clients is all going to be things that we can aggregate and create in a report that's going to be custom and be used for you and your business. And all that sums up over to some key benefits. As you can see over there on the right, growing your AUM as well as retaining your assets under management, saving times using templates, saving things down, having things all exactly how you'd like it. And of course, ultimately, better outcomes and client satisfaction. We hear so much that clients of financial advisors want to hear from their advisors more. Being able to enhance our communication efforts through YCharts, making things that are understandable for clients and things that help them and their needs. Send it over here to Paul to talk a little bit about Broadridge, the wealth aggregation and insights platform.
Thank you, Christian. Just to level set with everyone on the call in terms of who Broadridge is, we are a business unit within the corporate entity of Broadridge. We're a globally publicly traded conglomerate. In essence, we have about 6 billion in revenue, 14,000 global associates, offices in 21 countries. I'll say that we span a significant segment within not only the wealth space, but within asset management, capital markets as well. From a notoriety perspective, Broadridge is primarily showcased within the print and mail and trade processing and client correspondence space. We have a significant division within wealth, around 500 million in revenue annually, and our positioning is on growing and enhancing and enriching that advisor experience. We have a set of foundational pillars in terms of a vision that we're looking to embark upon, and that comes to digitizing operations, personalizing the investor experience, and ultimately driving the advisor productivity. And it's really, in essence, with all the integrations that we do across our partner network, is powering the data that we bring in. So for those that might have heard of Investigo, Investigo was a startup back in 2003. It was acquired by Broadridge in 2008. And over the last year or so, we recently rebranded Investigo as Wealth Aggregation and Insights to hone in on the new tenets in which we want to enrich that advisor productivity and that advisor investor experience. We want to be more than just a data aggregator. We want to drive financial wellness. We want to drive insights. We recently launched a new value-based investing offering within the platform. So it's all around not only just bringing in the data, but letting that data drive and fuel all the applications within the ecosystem, whether it's a CRM, financial planning, research and analytics tool like YCharts. It's really home and native to us on what our core values are, is kind of giving all the keys out to these financial providers to give you and your technology access to the data and all your client accounts. So on the left-hand side, this is kind of our core data processing engine. We not only bring in data across 4,500 plus distinct direct sources, we reconcile it, normalize it to a common denominator in terms of account registration, security types, et cetera. We then post it and then distribute it. And we supplement the data from a custodian or from an insurance annuity provider directly with held away assets. So think of those as like a 401k that might not be advisor managed, a 529 account, an HSA, a mortgage, a checking account, any type of holistic view that the advisor wants into the client's full wealth wallet share can be authorized by the end client and then seen in one comprehensive dashboard or report within our platform. And then lastly, that orange box there on the left is kind of the overlay of AI insights. So we have a natural language search within our platform where you can data mine and run queries across your complete data set. And then we have automated alerts and insights around large cash balances, anomalies in the data, asset allocation and diversification across certain exposures that can kind of highlight and bring to mind a call to action or next best action, if you want to think of it like that, for the advisor to make a recommendation. On the right-hand side, just quickly highlighting some of the ways that you can access the product. So it's more than just a web application. We have a replicated database. So if you want to control and have access to the data directly, we could spin up kind of a separately managed instance of that data share. We have APIs and files. We have the document vault, a whole suite of kind of interconnectivity tools that I kind of referenced earlier, but you can also even just write to the data in terms of not only just reading it, you can update the data directly within the platform. So definitely a lot of areas in which you can plug and play within the suite of solutions. And then at the bottom, just a footprint of the breadth of clients, breadth of advisors, breadth of accounts and investors that we service. Just real quickly, I was going to share here, Christian, just a snapshot, a highlight of the Broadridge Wealth application, and then I'll kick it over to you to show more of the integration. So let me share my browser real quickly here. This is the landing page for the advisor. So Randy Naiman is the rep here overseeing a book of business. A lot of times in the aggregation space, it's account or client centric, and you have to go one account by a time. This is a nice view of being able to see everything in one place and then be able to search and navigate, drill in and filter and find client specific information that you're looking for. So we give a nice view or snapshot into significant activity across the platform, whether there's been new accounts open, large deposits or cash balances that might need an investment, significant activity over time that can be highlighted for the rep to view. And then lastly, just if they want to go into a household or a group or a portfolio or a client record, they can quickly click in and then get a specific line of sight into the client's accounts, their holdings. You can run specific reports for them across performance and gain loss and transaction activity. So a comprehensive wealth suite, very dynamic, very interactive. And this is something that we're continuing to build upon, and happy to talk to anyone afterwards that's looking for kind of a new aggregation solution. So with that, Christian, I'll hand it back to you.
Great, thanks, Paul. So now we're going to touch in a little bit about how what we just saw can be brought into YCharts, utilizing some of the data and functionality that we have to kind of enhance that. You know, we use the term sandbox method around here a little bit, bringing information that's already in systems like Broadridge, into YCharts for further, further research and analysis that we'll be able to, utilize for our investment needs. So first things first, in terms of setting this information up, connecting these two systems within YCharts and Broadridge should be overall relatively simple. These integrations live within our portfolios tool. So now once I am logged into YCharts and I go to the tools drop down here, once I click on portfolios, up here in the top right where it says import holdings, this is where we're going to be able to manage our integrations. I already have this set up here. So just to kind of chat through this process, if you don't have this set up yet, what you would do is click on import, and then this will take you to this page where once you see Broadridge over here down here in the bottom right, we would click manage and then activate, and then you're going to need the API key that's on your Broadridge account in order to translate that information in here. So again, I already have this set up. If you do want to look at some kind of images about how you would get this set up, you can go to support up in the top and then FAQs. Once we go to integration setup, I can go ahead and click on Broadridge and get a little bit more of a better image about what exactly I need to do. Go ahead and click on administration, profiles, and there are those API public and private keys that we'll just need to translate over, sync those two systems up. Really should be good to go from there. If you don't see your API keys within Broadridge, definitely reach out to Broadridge support. They'll be able to help you the best they can, of course. So again, really the process there is translating that information over. So once we do have our two systems synced up, what can we do? So now when I'm back in the portfolios tool and I go to import holdings here, I see my active Broadridge system. So once I click into this is now turns into a function, search functionality about how I can bring in existing client accounts from Broadridge over into YCharts. Again, to use our sandboxing method, doing further research analysis using all the different types of functionality that we have here on YCharts. So you can either search by account or group. Should really be the exact same information that you see on your Broadridge. It's going to be organized the same. It's all going to look the same. So if I go ahead and search for my example client here, here we get to see all three accounts and we get to make a decision here. Do we want to focus on one of these accounts in particular, two, or all of them? Again, is this person coming in for a meeting and we want to talk them through their entire system, or we just really want to focus on one in particular? We get to make that decision because you can either check in one at a time, or we can go ahead and check all accounts. I'm going to go ahead and click all accounts here and import that and bring that into YCharts. As you can see really quickly and easily, what we just did is we brought in all of the holdings that were held at Broadridge, what their current dollar amounts are, as well as the cost basis for these holdings into YCharts that we can now save down as a portfolio. So again, that's really the power of this feature here. That's really all we'll need to do. Kind of few last things. We're going to want to give this a name. We'll call this Trevor Rich All Accounts. We can enter in our advisory fee if we'd like. A few other kind of systems here. We can assign a more appropriate benchmark that you'd like. It's going to auto-populate to the S&P 500, but we can go ahead and change that if you'd like to. If I just wanted to switch this to maybe something like an 80-20 benchmark, let's go ahead and do that. And now I'm going to save that down. So again, really in just about what was that, 2 or 3 minutes there, we brought in the accounts from Broadridge into YCharts here. It's going to take a second to calculate, but now we have this client portfolio that I can go ahead and click into and get all of this great data. All right, so as everybody can see here, Here's our portfolio output. So lots of really great information, a lot of data and analysis that we can go from here. Overall, this is really going to live up. All the really good information is going to live up within these tabs up here at the top. If you want to do a full-fledged breakdown on the performance of the accounts, the allocations, holdings, transition analysis, holdings overlap, all these really great things. The quote tab here is going to do a decent job summarizing all this information for us. What's our asset allocation? What are our top 10 holdings? How are those holdings doing today? All this interesting stuff that we can now look at. A few kind of personal favorites that I'm going to hit on. This holdings overlap tool is a really great tab, specifically for accounts that are comprised of lots of funds. These days we're all invested in all these different types of ETFs and mutual funds. And that's great, but let's take a look and see if, we're holding the same stock across all of these funds. We definitely want to be diversified. That's kind of the idea. So I can see that these are all the funds that I own and my current weight within each of these funds. But when I go down to the holdings overlap tab, I'm now going to get really kind of under the hood view of exactly what's being held at the underlying equity level. So here I can see, within all of our accounts, we're weighted around 2.5% to this Taiwan semiconductor stock, Microsoft, as you can see. And when we click on this plus symbol, we'll see exactly what fund this stock is held in and how much within each respective fund. So again, a really good place to just take a look under the hood of your client accounts, see what's being held, how much allocation into each stocks. We're seeing so many of these tech stocks take up so much more of our portfolios. Here's a really great place to get a pulse check on that. See if it's held across too many funds, see if we want to make any decisions from there. Moving forward a bit, a few other areas that I really like. Fundamental Charts is going to do a really good job painting simple pictures for clients. Here, what we're looking at here is Trevor Rich's accounts against this 80-20 benchmark that we can see. If we want to do things like bring this in against the S&P 500, we can do that too. Again, if we want to talk this through with our clients, see how things are going, see why we're missing out on any gains. This is going to be able to paint that picture for them, and we can always generate these things to, a PDF if we want this to be a little bit more of a deliverable for our client conversations. Print this out, chop this up. Also, our scatter plot tool is going to do a really good job of depicting the story for clients. Here, what we're doing is we're bringing in the account, all the accounts in an aggregate, all of the holdings of the accounts, as well as our benchmarks in terms of risk and reward. So what we're looking at here is where all these items lie in terms of standard deviation and returns. So we can see here that our accounts live here. Bottom right quarter is typically the area where some holdings might be dragging us down. These holdings have high standard deviations, but low returns. We can hover over these to see exactly what they are. Or maybe we want to highlight this to a client, but we want to do it in a JPEG form now. Now we can see here, we can talk to a client and say, hey, we don't love the kind of area you're in right now. A lot of these are highlighted. We want to call these out if we want to make any changes. Because one thing that YCharts is going to do really well is help you identify underperforming securities or securities that potentially aren't fitting your criteria, that we can then identify and make any potential changes. Stress test is also going to be a really great tab. If you have clients that are a little bit concerned about recessions coming up, the elections coming up, how have our portfolios performed in historical, recessionary or, turbulent times, I guess you could call it. This stress test tab is going to tell that story for us. As we can see here, we have pre-built out time periods kind of illustrating how our portfolio did, as well as how the benchmark that's associated with our portfolio did. So again, if a client's kind of concerned about this, we can talk through these items, see how it did during specific times and how we think the portfolio will be able to stand strong, or maybe we want to make any changes if we are expecting any more turbulence into the future. So in this instance, the purple being our portfolio, the orange being the benchmark. Again, being able to illustrate this, we can even print this out via an export button. And now we got a good stress test here, talking clients through all these different stories, making sure we're on the same page. Again, going back to that alignment conversation that all these people want to have with their financial advisor. Keeping with the theme of PDFs and reports a little bit for these client conversations, we have a whole bevy of reports that will be in your account up here in the top right once we click into reports. So tons of things that we can go and do here. Overall, we do have a tool called the Report Builder that can really highly customize what your reports look like. So again, really any sort of reporting type of situation that you'll be looking to show, if we got it here on YCharts, odds are we can bring it into your report for you. So I know that can be pretty daunting, but if we just wanted to go over a quick example, let's say this client's coming in for a meeting this week and we want to, talk about some potential changes that we want to make, or we just want to talk about how well we've been doing and how we don't want to make changes. Again, whatever the situation might be, our reports are going to do a really good job laying all of this out for you to have for your conversations. So I'm going to print out this report for Trevor Rich. Whole lot that we're going to get here. Again, as I mentioned earlier, we can really highly customize these reports and what they look like. We can make these longer. We can make these shorter. So keeping all that in mind, but here's just one good example to take a look at. Doing a deep dive with this client on their returns, periodic, annual returns, some key stats that we want to talk them through. What's their asset allocation? Where is their money invested in? What type of stock styles are we invested in, and where are we invested in as well? What countries? What continents? Which sectors are we exposed to? Is this an issue? Do we want to move out of anything? Same goes on the bond side of things. Is our fixed income where we want it to be? Max drawdown. Do we have risk issues? How are our risk metrics? Do we need to make any changes there? We have all the data and visuals to support any sort of argument that you would like to make on that. Here's that kind of scatter plot type of view we were talking about. Taking a look into the deep dive into the holdings of the portfolio. Here's that holdings overlap view where we're seeing what the underlying equities are. How have those underlying equities performed in the past 1, 3, 5, 10 year, excuse me. And then all of the definitions and disclosures that you could ever want to work in conjunction with your compliance department. So this is all customizable as well. So that's just one pretty simple example about how we can create a report on YCharts showing this information. Again, circling back to how quickly and easily we brought in these accounts from Broadridge. In this instance, we did all the accounts, but we could bring them in one at a time. So much that we can do there, but having that really quick and easy workflow, bringing them straight from Broadridge into YCharts here. One other thing I wanted to hit on along the lines of our portfolios tool, a little bit more along the lines of research and analysis. We hit on a lot of types of visuals and reports that we can show to clients. Let's say that we want to do some digging into these accounts, this portfolio, and potentially make any changes. So we have a whole lot we can do along those lines. Again, first step here really being identifying any underperforming securities or, funds that we want to potentially replace. So first things first is we need to identify those, and we need to stop and say, hey, we're not really sure about this security anymore. We want to look into replacements. Tons of places that we can do that. The one I'm going to focus on today is going to be here within this quick flows tab. This quick flows tab is really special because it's going to bring you to the rest of our system really quickly and easily by doing a lot of the work for you. So instead of you going to our screener, going to our comp tables tool, charts, we're going to be able to create a lot of this and hopefully get some really relevant and powerful information right in front of you. So once I click on quick flows, it's already got our Trevor Rich portfolio loaded up in here. And here are all the different options of things that we can look at while doing research on this portfolio. One example I want to touch in on is I want to take a deeper dive into these funds that Trevor Rich is holding, and I want to see what their category ranks are. I want to see what percentile within their category they are in out of 100 over these previous timeframes here. So the numbers that we're looking at, 1 being the best, 100 being the worst, we want to find some funds that maybe are consistently really kind of getting too high for us. They're maybe close to that 90, 80 range over extended periods of times, and we don't want that for our clients. So now we got all this information here within all of our American funds. Just taking a quick look at these numbers and going to pick on one of these funds here just for example purposes. None of this is research advice, of course. But let's take a look at this American funds here. This has kind of been a little bit above 50 over the past, 1, 3, 5, 10, 20 years. That's not exactly what we're looking for. We want to find potentially some better performing funds, but we don't want to mess up our allocation too much. We don't want to go out of this all into tech, or we don't want to go all into fixed income. We want to kind of stay within our relative asset allocation. One thing we can do once we choose the fund that we are going to look into replacing is we can actually go back into quick flows. So here's the CAFEX fund. If I go back into quick flows here, I'm going to remove this and I'm going to go ahead and type this in. So I typed in that fund into our quick flows, and now I have a whole new list of options that I can now go from this quick flows. And the one that I want to do is under the similar security section. All of these are going to build screens for us to find potential replacement funds. So staying along the lines or the theme of ranks in category when looking at funds, I'm going to go ahead and click Find Funds Ranked in Category. And this builds a screen for us, which is pretty great. So again, what we did is we brought in this American funds, clicked Find Funds Ranked in Category. This built us a screen looking at funds within the same category, but we want to find funds that are consistently on the other side of the category ranks. They're in the top 50, so they're closer to that one number. We want to find funds that are consistently ranked in terms of performance lower rather than higher. So as you can see here within our logic, what we're looking at is we're looking at ETFs as well as mutual funds that are within the large growth category. Since this original fund was in the large growth category, we're sticking in that category. We just want to find a better performing fund within that category. So that's kind of the informational filters here. Down below, you see the metric filters. This is where we're bringing in, we're telling the system that we only want to bring in funds that are over the past 1, 3, and 5 years have every calculation have been within the top 50 percentile of their category. We also don't want any funds with a high expense ratio. We don't want any funds with a high Sharpe ratio, as well as a 3-year alpha. So with those filters that our quick flows built for us, now we got a list of 70 funds that we can look into potentially replacing. So here's a great list, 70 funds that we can now look into potentially implementing into our system or into our portfolio. We want to tell this client, we want to get you out of this fund and put you into another one. We can sort by this. Well, if I want to see, which funds have consistently been within the top of their category over the past 5 years. Again, we can choose whichever fund from this list that we want, depending on what we value. So we can add more information to this with our metric or info columns. We could add more filters to reduce this list down. But overall, this is really kind of the idea here. So let's just go ahead and pick one. We'll switch over to Fidelity and just see how that makes an impact. So FCGSX. I'm going to jot that down just to have FCGSX. Awesome. So we want to see, maybe we want to test this historically. We want to see if we were to have been invested in this FCGSX fund rather than our original American fund, how would that have made an impact? So, well, again, just to summarize a little bit, what we did is we identified any underperforming securities. We brought that into our quick flows to find those category ranks, identified the underperformers, went back into quick flows and found find funds ranked in category to find our new fund. So now that we have our new fund, let's keep moving forward here. Here's Trevor Rich's all accounts. Here's that same account that we were looking at. I'm going to go over here, click on the three dots on the far right and click duplicate. What this is going to do is just recreate this portfolio, but I'm actually going to swap out. I'm going to swap out the funds that we just found. It was this one. I do need to remind myself of what that ticker was of the fund that we just found. FCGSX. So again, I'm going to do that. Click on the three dots. We're going to duplicate this. Just going to call this 2. I'm going to click edit items. And here, whereas this original American funds is, now I'm going to punch in our new fund that we have found on YCharts. Now, when I save this and click save, it's going to take a second. So now we have these two that we can now compare. So the original account that we were looking at, as well as the Trevor Rich accounts with our new swap. So now if I go to our tools drop down and go to another tool of ours, now I go to our fundamentals charts tool and I do Trevor Rich all accounts. Then I also do Trevor Rich all accounts too. So I just want to see, I want to test my hypothesis, see how historically speaking, how they match up. And now we can do that storytelling that see if we were to have switched out those two funds, what would that impact be on a specific time period? You know, 3-year, 5-year. Again, how would that have impacted our returns? Amongst many other places we could do this, we could generate a comparison report as well. So again, we can really test our hypothesis as well. Once we find our underperforming security, using quick flows to find the replacement security, duplicating them, and then testing our hypothesis is just one way we can utilize a lot of the portfolio research and analysis and tools on YCharts from the data that's brought in from Broadridge. So that's what I had in mind to go over with everybody today. So thank you so much for your time. Again, please feel free to hang around and ask some questions. If you want to do some more discovery and learn more about the capability of YCharts as well as Broadridge, again, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen one more time. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to jot them in the Q&A session right now. We can do our best to address those. And of course, like I said, please don't hesitate to reach out. You'll be able to find our support information here as well as Broadridge Broadridge's support information on our Q&A slide here. All right. Again, thank you everybody so much for your time. We really appreciate you spending, 40, 45 minutes with us here today. Again, as a reminder, any new Broadridge users that are not currently subscribed to YCharts, you do currently get 20% off your subscription. So please reach out if you'd like to take that for a spin. But again, thanks so much for your time. Paul, if you have any last notes, thank you as well.
No, we'd be open to same type of discount in terms of giving new users a percent or at least a trial to kick the tires on the solution. So happy to entertain any new trial users and advisors wanting to give another try at a aggregation solution. So thank you, Christian.
Absolutely. Great. Thank you, Paul. Have a great day, everybody.
Take care. Bye-bye.